So we're going to just start in a seated position just for a couple of moments, and then we'll get down onto our backs. So welcome everyone today for this Zoom yoga flow practice. We're going to be working a little bit more on bringing our focus and attention to the psoas. So the psoas, if you don't know, I'm just going to move a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So the psoas is a hip flexor. So it's in this area right here, and what it does is actually one of the longest muscles in the body. So it actually runs from your lumbar spine, so your lower part of the spine, and it clicks in right there towards your low back. So I think it's around L4 or 5, and then it runs right through your pelvis, and then it comes around and it wraps right through it. Pushes right through the hole in your pelvis, and it comes down and connects to your femur right here. So it helps to move the leg up and down. And when we're sitting a lot, it really becomes tight. And it really, when you have bad posture, when we're not sitting or standing up correctly, it becomes either weak or tight. And that's not a really good thing, because when it becomes weak or tight, it really throws off your biomechanics throughout the rest of your body. Things can travel downwards and they travel upwards. So when this part of the body in these hip flexor issues, you might not notice them there at all. You might actually notice them more in your back, or even going up into your shoulders, or going down into your legs, maybe even into the ankle. So everything is connected, but we're going to address this a little bit more as well, just because we use it a lot. And sometimes even sciatic pain can come from this hip flexor being a little bit too weak or too tight. Okay? So, and also, because in this area in the pelvis region as well, this is where our adrenal glands lie. And so we have a lot of emotions that lie in this area. And so the psoas is connected to those as well. So we're going to start laying down on our back in a constructive relaxation pose. So that's on the back with the knees bent. Okay. So knees are bent. And you can move your feet away from each other as much as you need to, and then just drop the knees together. If they don't reach, it doesn't matter. Just move yourself in a way that feels comfortable. Play around with the distance between your heels and your buttocks, and then your feet away from each other. So your feet should feel secure on the ground. Knees are resting against each other, softening through your buttocks, through your hips, through the back of your body. And then you can place your arms either down by your sides, or maybe one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And just allow your shoulders to rest. Your head feels heavy into the ground. And then just be aware of the way that you're lying down, how that feels. Bringing yourself to your center. Just gently close your eyes, or have your eyes come to a nice soft gaze if your eyes are open. And then just slowly begin to check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? All the thoughts that are moving around in your head. Doing that scan of your body. Noticing how your muscles and your joints feel. So we're going to do just an overall scan to begin with. Just checking out the whole physical body. The mental body, the emotional body. Just noticing how through your experiences of today so far, how everything is doing. Whether you feel some tightness somewhere or what you're starting to feel. And really allow the ground to support you. Just feel yourself being heavy into the ground, being supported, feeling soft. Bringing your attention to the beating of your heart and the way that your breath is moving in and out of your body. Really feel that connection. Notice what your breath is doing. And whenever the mind begins to wander, just bring it back. So slowly you can allow that breath to grow without forcing it, without struggling. Just feel the breath moving in and out through your body. Nice and slow, slowing it down, taking your time. And then whenever you feel ready, begin to bring your focus to your psoas, your hip flexors. Perhaps noticing it just in the front part where the pelvis and the femur connect, or the thighs connect, or you can even bring it around, your attention around to your lumbar spine, the lower part of your back. And then feel it through there, and then feel that connection down into your thigh. And just noticing how that feels right now. You might feel a little bit of a constriction right now as you have your leg bent. You might feel something else. Just notice, you might feel nothing. You might feel different things throughout the rest of the body, maybe coming from that area. But see if you can focus your breath in that area. On both sides, the right side and the left side. Remembering some sensations are really, really big, and then some sensations are really, really subtle and whispering. And so what do you notice in the psoas area, that hip flexor area? Also being aware that this is the area where the hormones are produced. So if you feel any emotions at all, they might come up every once in a while. It's okay. Okay, so we're going to just start to stimulate the hip flexors a little bit more now. So still paying attention to them with your breath. You can bring your hands, maybe both your hands to your hip flexors. So just around your pelvis area, just gently place your hands here. And then we're going to just start to windshield wipe the knees from side to side. And just feeling that motion. So adjusting the legs accordingly, so they might need to be a little bit wider or maybe closer together. You decide what feels best for you. Just rocking, the feet can rock from side to side too. You don't have to go all the way down. And just gently placing your hands there where the hips meet the thigh. Perhaps you can even feel your your psoas or the hip flexors, or you might be able to feel something. Don't worry if you don't, it's okay. But just put your focus there, place your hands there, and just notice. You might have to press a little bit more, but you want to make sure that it does not hurt. Okay. Just moving from side to side. Eyes can be open or closed. Your eyes are open. Make sure that it's a nice soft gaze. And your eyes are not wandering all over the place. Okay. And then just bring the knees back to center. And just press a little bit deeper, maybe doing a little bit massage in that area and just noticing what you feel. Maybe when you just move your fingers around in that hip flexor area. Just notice what you feel. You don't have to press too hard. Just gently. You might feel the hip bones. And then just below that, just inwards a little bit. You might feel kind of a nubby, kind of rope-like, kind of muscly. That's what that is. That's the psoas. Okay. And then we'll just relax that. And just notice. Okay. And then we're going to take that right knee and squeeze it in towards the chest as much as you can. You can hold underneath the thigh or on the shin bone and lengthen that left leg. Okay, so on the right side now, we're contracting that hip flexor. And on the left side, we're stretching it out. Okay, so we're strengthening with the contraction on the right side and stretching out the left side. And just notice if you feel a difference between the two. Just notice whatever you notice here. Take a couple breaths. See if you can focus that breath into those hip flexor areas. Okay, and then we're going to change legs. So take the right leg, reach it down and out, and squeeze in that left knee towards your chest. And again, feeling the difference here. The contraction of the left psoas and the stretching out of the right. And just again, notice what you feel. Breathing whatever comes up. So remembering we need to strengthen and stretch to release any tension and tightness. And also to improve the strength in it. So sometimes we have a weak psoas, sometimes we have a tight psoas. So we stretch for the tightness and we strengthen for the weak. Okay, now bring that left knee down, stretch both legs out from yourself and just bring your arms above your head. Give yourself a nice little stretch. So we're lengthening and stretching out both psoas muscles here. And on your exhale, we're going to squeeze in both knees, contracting the psoas muscle, squeezing and strengthening here. Okay, bringing the feet down now. So we're in a half, well, sort of like a half bridge. We're going to bring the arms down and we're actually going to do a half bridge. So there's a little bit of contraction here right now. So we're going to exhale here. On the inhale, we're just going to bring the hips up just a little bit. Make sure you're looking upwards. Just a little bit with the hips up. We're stretching out here. Exhale, lower the hips back down. and the psoas will contract, like a little bend there in the hip flexor. One more time, inhale to lift up for our stretch, and exhale, bring the hips down for the contraction. Okay, take a moment here. Then we're going to make a little bit more of a contraction. Bring both knees in towards your chest, holding on either underneath the thigh or on the shins. And then if you can, see if you can roll yourself up. You might need to get a little bit of motion going up and just bring your feet onto the ground. Okay, so we have a nice little contraction here. We're strengthening the psoas, so we're sitting up nice and tall here. Just notice what you feel. Adjust the feet accordingly as well too. You might have to hold on maybe underneath the thighs or on the shin bone. And then we're just going to lean back a little bit. We're going to go into boat pose. So for boat pose, you might keep your feet on the ground and you might be just here. Okay? Or maybe you can lift up your feet a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Maybe you can stretch your legs out, maybe not. Don't worry if you can or can't. Just stay here wherever you can stay for just a breath or two. And then bring the feet down. Okay. Bring your arms around and give yourself a little hug. And then stretch the legs out in front of you. Okay, you can flex the feet a little bit. We're just going to do that one more time. Wiggle the toes around a little bit. And if you like, you can bring the hands back behind you. Bend your knees again. Press your feet into the ground. And then maybe just lift up a little bit. It might not be a lot as much as this. That's okay. Bring the hips down. We're going to go into boat one more time. Come back into the sacrum area a little bit. Feet can stay on the ground. You can hold onto your thighs if you need to, or onto your shin bones. And then if you want, you can lift up your feet. Make sure you're breathing here. We're strengthening the psoas, so we need to breathe. We need to breathe through it. Feet can be flexed, or you can relax your feet, up to you. Just notice the difference when you do. If you want to bring your legs up higher, that's perfectly fine. And then bring the feet down when you're ready. Stretch out the legs. Sitting up nice and tall. And then bend the knees again. Place the hands behind you. And then bring yourself up in just a little bridge here. And then bring the hips back down. Okay, let's roll over onto our hands and knees. Okay, so if you need something underneath your knees, do that. We're going to be doing cat and cow. So cat and cow can be done on the chair too, if you don't want to have your knees on the ground. Okay, so toes can be curled under, or the tops of the feet can be down on the mat. Okay, and we're going to start to do some cows and cats, maybe about 3 or 4 times. And see, when you're doing them, maybe you can direct that motion coming from the psoas muscle. So start that motion in your mind's eye from the psoas muscle, radiating all the way up. So that psoas muscle starts at the lumbar spine, the lower part of the spine. So see if you can move in that direction. Starting in that direction, radiating all the way up towards your head. And then moving it so into cat, starting at that lumbar spine. And just notice if when you're doing it in this way, what you notice. Really trying to pay attention to the lumbar spine, to the psoas. I lost count of how many I did, so you just do maybe one more. And then we're going to bring ourselves all the way back to our tabletop. Okay, and just notice here. Let's curl the toes under. You're gonna stretch your right leg back behind you. Your toes are into the ground. So with the right leg back, we're stretching out that psoas. See if you can notice that. And we're contracting in the left psoas. Take a moment here and then lift up that right leg, trying to keep the hips as level as you can. Just take a moment here. And then bring the foot down and bend back into that knee. So coming back to your tabletop. Again, take a moment here. And then do the same thing with the left side. Reaching that left leg out, toes are into the ground, equal weight through both hands, both feet, and then lift up that left leg. Again, try to keep the hips level. Again, paying attention to the hip flexor, the psoas. And then bring that foot down. And then bring the knees back to tabletop. Okay. And then we're going to open up the knees a little bit and come into a child's pose. So while we're in our child's pose, pay attention to the sensation that is coming from that psoas area. So that might mean maybe something in the back. Maybe you can feel something a little bit more in the hips, or perhaps more maybe in the thigh. What do you notice? Okay. Bring yourself back up into a table. And then we're going to take your right foot and bring it forward into a lunge, low lunge. So again, if you need something underneath your knee, place something underneath your knee. If you want to use a chair, that's perfectly fine. And then just walk your toes of your right foot a little bit more and your knee a little bit back. Hello, Bob. We're in a low lunge. Okay. And we're paying attention to our psoas, our hip flexor. So pay attention to your left hip flexor here. Root down through both feet and see if you can bring your hands up. Okay, so we're paying attention to this left side. Now, if this isn't working for you with your knees down onto the ground, you can definitely use a chair. I'm just going to quickly show you on a chair. We can come on and then just play around with it until we feel, and we're really just paying attention to this left hip flexor. Okay, so we can feel supported on the chair. The knees do not need to be down. Okay. So we're going to just hold this for a moment. The arms can come up or they can be down. You can feel supported wherever you feel comfortable for you. And again, use what you need to use. If you need some support underneath your knee, use some support underneath your knee. Okay, so from here, we're going to move ourselves up into a high lunge. So that might mean you need to bring your hands down, curl the back toes a little bit more and bring yourself up. Walk your hands up your body, maybe up a wall, maybe up a chair, and find yourself here in your high lunge only for a couple of moments. Use a chair if you need to. And then we're going to plant that left foot down and come into warrior one. Okay, so the left foot is about a 45-degree angle. And it's almost as if you're on railroad tracks. Okay, so equal weight between both feet. Firmly press down into your feet. Soften through your hands. In fact, bring your arms towards your heart. Root down equally through both feet. Now bring your focus towards your hip flexor, your left hip flexor. direct your breath into that side. Remembering that that hip flexor starts at your lower back and it moves right through your pelvis, coming into the front to connect into your thigh. Notice the difference between your left hip flexor and your right hip flexor. If you want to challenge yourself, maybe close your eyes here and just breathe. And just see what comes up. If you don't have the balance quite right now, keep your eyes open then. Okay. So from here, we're going to put the weight mainly into our right foot. We're going to come into tree pose on our right foot. So that might mean we need to grab something or put the weight into the right foot, bending into that right knee a little bit more, and then bring ourselves up into our tree pose. Again, the focus is on the psoas, both sides, noticing what's happening here. Did you notice that we went from strengthening in the right side, because that was where it was bent, and now we've stretched it out. And the left side, where we had it nicely stretched out, we're now have a little bit of a bend in there. So we have a little bit of contraction happening on this side. So we're strengthening now. How tall can you stand up? Those hip flexors, the psoas is really helping you to find your stability here in your posture. You can keep your hands by your heart or bring them up if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more. Close your eyes. And notice what's happening. How do you feel? Any emotions coming up out of this? Okay. Next breath, let's take that left foot and place it down. So we're coming into Tadasana. Bring the hands down. So standing in a nice, strong Tadasana. So notice right now, as you're in Tadasana, we want to have nice, some really good, strong posture here. Notice if your tendency is to have your pelvis tilting forward a little bit. Or is the pelvis tilting back a little bit? So that you have a little bit of a sway back here. What's happening in the psoas area will dictate what is happening in your posture. So if your posture isn't upright with your joints stacked one on top of another, the psoas might be too weak or too tight. So just notice this. This is not going to happen overnight that we're going to make the psoas, all better 100%. This is a slow go. It took time to get the psoas into a tightness or into a weakness. So we just slowly have to stretch them out and make them stronger. Okay, so take a few breaths here. And then we're going to go backwards. So we're going to move into our tree pose first on the other side. So we're going to do this whole little sequence, but in the reverse. So bring your hands towards your heart. Shift the weight over towards the left foot. And then bring yourself into tree pose on the other side. So the right foot comes up. And again, if you need to hold on to something, do that. Trying to stand yourself up as much as possible. And again, noticing the psoas muscles. Noticing how those feel. You want to challenge yourself, close your eyes or bring your arms up into the air. It's all good. Your leg can be up higher. Just wherever you are at this moment is perfectly fine. Okay, and then from here, we're gonna go back into our warrior one. So taking that right leg, moving it backwards, 45 degrees, bending into that left knee. Railroad tracks, and then just adjust it. And then bring your arms up if that feels good to you. Or you can keep your hands by your heart. And again, trying to put equal weight between both feet. Again, paying attention to the psoas. How does it feel on your right side? You had it contracted when we were in tree. Now it's stretched out. How does that feel? And the same thing goes for the left side. It's contracted now, but it was stretched out just a moment ago when we were in tree. How does it feel? Noticing if there's any sensations coming out of either side. And also any sensations that are radiating from that area, maybe moving upwards or maybe moving downwards. Make sure you're breathing, maybe a gentle smile on your face. Remember, we're not trying to be too serious here. And just experimenting and just really noticing how our body works, how that affects absolutely everything. Okay, so we're gonna start to move this into a high lunge. So if you need the chair, grab the chair or the wall or whatever you need. So you bring your hands back towards your heart if you want to. And we're just gonna pivot that right foot. So we're on the ball of our foot, wiggling it around until we find ourselves back into a high lunge. Okay, and with that high lunge, you might feel all of a sudden a little bit more in the psoas muscle now because that leg is stretched out a little bit more. Notice what you notice. Try not to tense up in any other part of the body. Okay, and then when you're ready, we're going to slowly bring your right knee down onto the ground. So again, if you need a chair to help you, or if you need to use the chair for this, that's perfectly fine. Bring the knee all the way down. Maybe move your left foot a little bit further, because we really want to start to feel a nice little stretch here through that psoas muscle. And again, adjust it accordingly. Okay, if you need something underneath that right knee, do that. You can also be on the chair. Again, I'm just going to show you. And you'd be looking like this. You can have a little bit of a bend. So this is when your knee is bent. That's a low lunge. Or when the leg is straighter, that's a high lunge. Okay, so just remember that. That works for you. Your hands can be wherever they feel comfortable. They can even be down on the ground. So we're just going to take a couple more moments here, just noticing. Okay, and then we're going to slowly come out of this. So slowly bringing ourselves back down, moving that leg back, coming into a tabletop. Okay, taking a moment here. Good. And then we're going to come into a child's pose again. So child's pose, again, just for a couple of breaths. You need to support your head, use your hands or something underneath your head, and just take in a few moments there. Again, thinking and considering the psoas muscles, what you're doing right now. So you're strengthening them. They're coming together, creating a little contraction. Okay. And then on your next breath, you're going to bring yourself up. And we're going to come onto both knees. Okay, so we're going to go into gate pose. So I'm going to just show you, if you are using a chair, gate pose is going to look like this. So we're gonna be on our right knee, and the left leg is going to, left knee, right leg is going to come out, and your knee and toes are gonna be about the same level. If you're doing this on a chair, you're gonna come up onto the chair on your knee, and you're gonna stretch out your leg. Okay, so this is gate pose. Okay, so either one, whatever works for you. Okay, so we're gonna bring the arms up. Back toes can either be turned under or the top of the foot can be down. Just notice how you're feeling here. Again, we're working on the hip flexor. So using your knee, not using your knee. Okay, so paying attention to those areas right there. Okay, so we're going to move towards that extended leg. We're going to do a little lateral side bend. So we're moving towards the extended leg. So you can bring your right arm down onto that leg and extend that left arm out. So we're feeling a nice stretch through that left side of the body. But you should still noticing your psoas muscles here. Make sure you're breathing. Don't forget to breathe. Paying attention here. You should feel very supported here. Okay, and then we're going to move the arms back up on our inhale. And we're going to come over onto the other side. So if you want to hand down onto a chair and you're only going over this far, or you might come all the way down onto a floor and come over this far. So just come over to where you can, or if you don't have anything beside you, you can bring your left hand onto your hips and just go about halfway. Okay, up to you. Notice how it feels on your body. Not trying to force anything. Okay, and then we're going to bring ourselves all the way up on our inhale. Bring the hands down if you're on your hands and knees, and we're going to switch legs. So bring that right leg back, and we're going to switch legs. So extend the left leg out. So again, if you're on a chair, you're just going to switch your body around. And then bring yourself up, and then the arms come up. And notice how it feels on this side of your body. Notice how it feels in your psoas. Okay, and then we're going to go towards that left side this time. So left hand goes towards the left leg. And we're going to just reach over, and you be the judge of how far you reach. Try to soften through your shoulders. Okay, so this is what it looks like here. If we were on the chair, we would have the right knee on the chair and the left leg out. So really the knee is not on the chair, you're actually supporting yourself with your shin. Okay, and on the next side, bring the arms up, reach up, and then we're going to go over towards the right side. So we might go halfway, so maybe that right hand will be on the hip, or you might be holding on to something, or possibly it can go all the way down onto the ground. So again, you decide what works best for you. And again, we're paying attention to hip flexor. Take a breath here. And then bring yourself all the way back up. Good. And then bring the hands down. Bring yourself back into a table. And then we're going to sit ourselves down. Okay, reach the legs out in front of you. Okay, so we're gonna take that right foot and we're gonna bring it inwards. Okay, so we can leave it like this, okay? If you want, you can take that left foot and bring it behind you. So we're in a pinwheel. So up to you, we can stay like this or like this, okay? There's also the option of leaving the left leg behind you and bringing the right foot in front of you. So play around with that and just see what works for you. For some people, it's not gonna work. So you just have to play around with what works and what doesn't. And then moving around, so if you need any support, like you can bring your foot out and just give yourself a little bit more support underneath the knees if you want to with a blanket or a towel. Okay, so wherever you are, sit up nice and tall and pay attention to those hip flexors. Maybe close your eyes and just notice. Remembering that they start at your lower back and they move right through your pelvis to your thigh. Notice the difference between the right side and the left side. We shouldn't be feeling any searing pain. If you're feeling any sort of pain, slowly get out of any position that you're in, okay? And I mean from the hip flexors, in the knee, in the hips, anywhere you feel any pain, okay? We don't want that. Okay, let's switch over towards the other side. So bringing both legs out in front of you. This time we're going to take the left knee, the left foot in towards the inner thigh. And again, adjust it. It might not go into the inner thigh. It might be into the inner shin. Okay, it's almost like half butterfly pose. And then you can take, if you want to, you can try and take that right foot and bring it behind you. So we're more in a pinwheel pose. Or it might just be the right leg is behind you and the left leg is straight. And again, try what works for you, where you need support. Okay, and then wherever you are, wherever you found your space, again, close your eyes and notice. Paying attention to the psoas, anything that's coming up out of that. It's remembering that if anything feels painful, please change it. It's okay. We're always different people, different things. If we really feel like we're struggling, then perhaps maybe both legs need to come up in front of you. We don't have to be in competition with ourselves. Take a couple of breaths here. Okay. And then on your next exhale, stretch out both legs out in front of you. And then we're going to come back down onto our backs. All right, down onto your back. Bend into your knees. Then we're going to do a few more half bridges. This time we're going to stay a little bit longer. So feet, you can adjust your feet around until they are comfortable for you. Everybody's different, so where your feet are going to be depends on your body type. Looking up at the ceiling, please do not twist your head around. Look up at the ceiling, eyes closed or open. Press into your feet. Your hands can be by your sides or on your heart and belly or wherever you like. And you're going to lift your hips up on your inhale. And on your exhale, bring the hips all the way down. We're going to do that 3 more times. And on the last time, you're going to stay up there. So inhale, lift up the hips. So you're putting more weight into the upper shoulders and back. Exhale, lower all the way down, nice and slow and gently. 2 more times. Inhale, lift up. Paying attention to the psoas. Chin is lifted a little bit so the throat is open. Okay. And lift up. For some reason, I totally lost count. Exhale, bring it down. Okay, let's do this last one, and we're going to stay up there. Press down into the feet, lift up your hips. Come up onto your upper shoulders, your upper back. Hold it there. If you like to bring your hands underneath your sacrum and bring your shoulder blades together and just wiggle around so your shoulders are underneath you, you can very well do that. We're just going to hold it up here. So stretching out the psoas. Lifting up. We're also doing a little bit of strengthening in here through our lower backs. So it's a back bend. So the lower back is getting a nice little strengthening workout here. Make sure you're breathing. We'll take maybe 1 or 2 more breaths here. If you need to come down sooner, just gently bring yourself down. You might notice your glutes, your buttocks is contracting a little bit as well too to keep you up. Okay, and then slowly, we're going to slowly release the arms if they're connected, and then slowly bring your body all the way back down to earth. And then just stay here for a moment. Just feeling the connection. And again, paying attention to the psoas. Okay. So we're going to go back into a twist, but we're going to stay there. So you can just windshield wiper your knees over to one side, or if you want to go a little bit deeper, bring your knees in towards your chest, and then bring those knees over towards one side and drop them down. That's a little bit more of a twist into the lower back and the mid back. Try to keep your shoulders on the ground, so you might have to play around with it. Go to where you want to go. Adjust however you need to. And if you want to move your head in either the same direction or the opposite direction, you're very welcome to do that, whatever feels good in your body. We're just going to stay here for a couple of breaths. On your exhale, just try to relax and release. Paying attention to any sensations. And then when you're ready, slowly bring your knees back. Stay here for a moment on your back just to allow the body to readjust itself before you go over towards the other side. Okay, and then whenever you're ready and your head is back at center, move your knees over towards the other side. If you want to bring your knees in towards your chest first, go ahead and then drop them down. Try to keep your hips over to the one side and your shoulders both down onto the ground, making any adjustments. And then again, if you want to move your head in any direction that feels good, then you can do that. And just try to soften here. Noticing how the psoas is feeling. Maybe from the back, maybe from the front. Okay, let's take one more breath here on this side. And then when you're ready, bring your head back to center. Knees come back up to center. Take a moment here, allowing the body to readjust itself before moving yourself into your savasana. Stretching out the legs, bringing the hands to maybe your body, your belly, your heart, or just relaxing them down by your sides. Palms face up if you wish. And then just surrendering to your mat, letting go of the breath, letting go of any control that you had over any part of your body. Bring your focus just to relaxing yourself. Allowing all the benefits of your practice get processed and integrated. The mind decides to go on a little wander, just lovingly bring it back, focusing on the breath. Peacefully allow your breath to deepen. Bring your awarenesses back. Wiggle fingers and toes, bringing some motion back to the body. Perhaps maybe even just doing a little scan of the body, just noticing how things are going, how you're feeling. When you're ready, giving yourself a little stretch. Rolling over into one side in a fetal position. And then when you're ready, pushing yourself up into a seat. Just keeping the eyes closed. When you're seated, bring your awareness back to your psoas, both sides, left and right. And just notice as you're seated, because we're in a contraction now in the psoas muscles. We sit a lot. Just notice how those psoas muscles feel. Remembering that they connect to your lower back, so pay attention to that spot too. Right through the pelvis, feeling that connection to the front of the thigh. Okay, so keeping that awareness there. I'm going to start to do some breathing exercises, and we're going to start with just breathing in for a count of 6 and exhaling for a count of 8. Just slowly go about doing that, counting to yourself. Everyone's breath is a little bit different. So making sure that you're seated comfortably. Your awareness is on your psoas, but you're breathing in for a count of 6, exhaling for a count of 8. And do it at your own count. And then once you've done that a couple times, we're going to move that count up to breathing in for a count of 8 and maybe exhaling for a count of 10. So we're not trying to struggle with this, just go at your own pace. While you're doing this, just notice things that are coming up. If you feel like you're struggling with an inhale of 8 and an exhale of 10, just bring it back down again. It's okay. Just go to where you can go. We don't want to struggle. It really depends on the way that you're counting as well, too. Okay, and then for those who are ready and want to try a little bit more, see maybe if you can count in for a count of 10 and exhale for a count of 12. So only when you're ready. If it feels accessible, or just keep it where it is. Just allow that exhale to be a little bit longer than the inhale. And still being aware of the psoas. It's keeping you upright, keeping your spine elongated and lengthened. Let's keep breathing like that for a couple more times. And then whenever you're ready, just allow yourself to let go of that breath. And then just notice your breath now, when you're ready. Notice how it feels. If you feel any tension anywhere, we don't want any of that. Just notice. So once you've got your rather regular breathing back, it might have changed as well too with this little practice. If your eyes are open, maybe gently close your eyes or have a nice soft gaze. And bring your full attention again to the psoas. And this time when you're noticing your psoas muscles, notice what kind of feelings or emotions are coming out of those spaces. Probably most likely it's the first thing that ever pops up. And it might grow into something else or evolve. Just notice as much as you can. Noticing if there's any struggle anywhere, if you feel some tightness anywhere. Just notice whatever comes up. Sometimes when we're doing this type of exercise, this little type of meditation, we tend to, that focus on an area might end up tensing up. See if you can relax it, even though we're seated, and there is a little bit of contraction in the hip flexor area. See if you can breathe into those areas and create some space. Okay, and as peacefully as you can, let go of all of that. Allow anything and everything that's being conjured up in that area to release. Blow it away. Exhale it away. Get rid of it. And then bring your hands towards your heart. Bow your head. And take a moment to reflect on your practice today. I'm just noticing if there's anything that you knew that you learned, anything that maybe that you were able to remember, anything that came up that was very of interest to you, or anything else that you can reflect on. And then give yourself some gratitude for that, to be able to reflect, to be able to process, for really bringing awareness to your practice today on a muscle that we really don't pay too much attention to until it begins to hurt after we've walked too much or sat too much, or our posture isn't quite correct and our back is hurting. We wonder why. Most likely it's the psoas having a little hissy fit. So give some gratitude towards that psoas, to both sides. And let's finish our practice for today. So let's take a big breath in through the nose. Sigh it out. And let's breathe in for one Om. May you have peace and blessings and lots of release. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you learned something through your practice today, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.